Guys, I want to talk about some heat transfer definitions, and I have a sword. So, let's do this. Let's first talk about some definitions. The first one is thermal energy, which means the total kinetic energy of the atoms in a substance, which is like pretty cool, you know, the moving, it's like the whole thing, the total thing. Then we have the actual definition of heat, because, you know, people kind of say heat a lot. But actually, it's the measure of the energy transferred from a warm body to a cold body. So, the measure of that energy transferred. It's not just like, you know, a thing. From the warm body to the cold body, the energy that is transferred is the heat. And then definition of temperature, because heat and temperature are not the same thing. Temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the atoms. So thermal energy is the total kinetic energy, and temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy. Pretty dope. I also want to talk about the methods of heat transfer. So, not all of them, but some of them, 3 of them. First one is conduction, which is like, you've probably heard of the word conduction before. It's a very popular thing. I would hope so. Basically, it's like passed from atom to atom. So, like, let's say I heated up my sword, right? Now, it's going to be heated up here, and from atom to atom, it's going to transfer. It's going to go, right? Here, you know, usually they'll have, like, they would have, like, you know, wood. So, this whole thing is wood. But, like, if this was metal and this was wood, it's kind of, like, going to insulate it a little bit. But if I were to touch the metal that's over here, even though I'm only heating up the tip of my sword, it's going to be hot here. And that's because of conduction. Next, convection. Convection is, like, the energy carried by atoms. So, this only happens in, like, the air, like, gases and liquids, but it's the energy carried around by atoms, okay? So, heat transfer, energy, right? Because, right, the definition of heat is the energy transferred, so, pretty cool. And then radiant, aka, like, infrared, so given off by a hot object and absorbed by another. So, infrared could be, like, fire is pretty cool, besides, like, the whole chemical thing, right? The actual infrared, like, you can feel it. You can feel the fire. Or, you know what, how about a better example of this is, like, the sun. Is the sun directly touching us? No. Is there some kind of medium that is traveling through to get its heat over here? No. So how are we, you know, hot? Because the sun is most of, like, our energy, right? So it's by that method of radiant. So it's basically radiation. Pretty cool. Not as cool as convection in my sword, but, you know, it gets there. Anyway, I would have followed you into Mordor. Can't I just be cool? Should I dress up as a hobbit for my next video? Do I have time for that? No. Anyway, see y'all.